Hey guys, it's me Chan Dragon, and today I will do Who Should You Pull Edition for 4.0, and this time about Lyney, Yelan, Zhongli, and even Childe. So let's get started. Let's begin with the newest 5-star character, which is the first 5-star for the Fontaine, which is Lyney. So the good about him is that first, he's actually solid main DPS. Probably some of you kind of underestimate him just because he just look like kind of maybe Ganyu or Tinari something like that, but he is actually dealing a solid amount of damage, and because of that he's become a very solid main DPS though. And the second is basically is what that he did the best, which is he good in mono pyro. And maybe some of you kind of feels like, oh, it's just mono pyro, it's mono element, usually it's kind of weak, but no, he's actually pretty good in mono pyro. He deal quite high amount of damage. I already told you that if you use with the signature weapon, he can deal around like 70 to 100k, depend how many stack that you have. So it's pretty solid for the mono pyro itself though. So because of that, it's already better than Klee though. It's basically better version than Klee. And third is the good thing is about playing the mono element that you don't need to take care about reaction itself though. I mean, like sometimes vaporize we can like we need to see if it's already applied hard or not. Yeah, it's only small things, but basically in line we just can ignore that completely. We feel like there's nothing to pay attention in reaction, which is a good thing. It feels convenient. And the last one, you basically can take advantage of DM because this one of character is kinda sad, right? So only couple character that you really can utilize as a kind of Ganyu, but Line actually can take advantage of Dia just because they're resistant interruption and also it's pyro, so we can play no mono pyro. Dia might be not the best option, but Liney at least can kinda make Dia do something. So and that's a good thing though. And the better about Liney is that first you might need a shielder or even like the resistant interruption type of character, so you can kind of charge your bow kind of freely without feel like uncomfortable. Unless you really have a very good dodge skill or very good instinct in dodging stuff, then you will not have problem in like needing a shielder or getting interrupted just because you have a good instinct to dodging, right? But other than that, you most of the case need it just because the charging shot is not that fast like Tinari. It's kind of in the middle, like faster than Ganyu but slower than Tinari. So because of that, you kind of need a little bit time to charging though. So resistant interruption or at least shield are very good option though for you though. And that's yeah a thing that kind of can say dependent on it. And second is that you need to be a little bit careful when using Lightning just because he's squishy and he also drain HP. So if you're kind of doing the wrong combo, you might end up to not heal yourself and then you might die. So just be careful in that. And third, this is only for 4.0 series or just like when the Fontaine released. Just because he's like basically the best artifact is in the new domain, the hunter one, that the one very hard to pronounce, and literally you have to start to farm from the fresh again, so you cannot really get a good pre-farm things though, because the best artifact itself also in the new region and also the material for the talent, so it's pretty hard for you to like on the day one, okay, I already have level 80 or 90 Liney with the talent skill already level 8 and something. It's quite hard though for you, so it might be need time, and especially if you then have any resin, it even can take it longer though. So if you kind of want to make him as a carry like right away, it kinda like cannot, because yeah, it's a brand new region, but it's only a small thing, but you just need to consider that just because like. And the next one is that he's a little bit struggle in enemy where it's kind of separated because his AoE is pretty small. It's better than Yoimiya in terms of AoE, of course, but it's just like if you want to fight the AoE type of enemy, they need to be very close. If they just separated like just a little bit far, then it's a kind of little bit struggle for you. Just because Liney, the cat even cannot even reach the AoE just because it's a little bit too small though. So it's only small thing, just a little bit kind of struggle. But if you already can manage, you bring crowd control like Kazuha, then I think it can be manageable. But and the last one, he might be a little bit restrictive due like his talent, of course, that encouraging him to playing in a mono pyro. Of course, you can play on melt and like let's say vaporize. It's kind of not very restrictive, like it's a lot better. It's just like in order for you to fully utilize him, then yeah, it's kind of restrictive though for you just because it's mono pyro. And now we move to the reason for you to pull Liney. First, if you need a solid main DPS, then sure you can pull for Liney just because I already say his damage is actually very good though. Even though he's mono pyro, he's actually good though. And I don't think you will kind of regret because his damage is already pretty good though. And second, if you enjoy really mono pyro, like kind of playing like kind of Klee, then probably you will enjoy this type of character. And third, if you enjoy the gameplay of Lyney or the character of him as a like magician, then you should pull. For me personally, I enjoy his gameplay. Like it's a little bit better than Ganyu, where this one you have combo, you need to charge attack, you need to do skill after that, or burst, and then you do skill in the end. So it's pretty fun, like bow, but have a little bit combo. So honestly, I would say it's pretty enjoyable though. And just like I didn't pull, I don't really like the design. And the last one, if you want to see high damage per screenshot, meaning like the damage that deal at once that high, that people really like to show in YouTube and other social media like clickbait damage, yeah, Lyney potentially can do that just because his charges basically quite high, like 70 to 100k. It's very different that like Dendro, like Hyper Bloom stuff, that the damage is actually high, but it just spread though. It's very hard for you to get like damage per screenshot, but Lyney can possibly do that very easily. So if you kind of like to see high damage for your own eye satisfaction, yeah, sure, pull for Lyney. And the reason for you to not pull Lyney or skip Lyney is that first, if you aim for off filler or sub DPS, let's say kind of Xiangling, then don't pull for Lyney. Just because Lyney is technically have the same role like Hu Tao and Yoimiya, and I believe most of you even have Hu Tao, right? So you have to consider again, because his role is basically kind of Hu Tao and Yoimiya, but the difference that Lyney is more focused in mono pyro though. So if you say like you kind of want this type of character, then sure. And second, if you prefer to playing with reaction, then don't really pull for Lyney. Yeah, you can play in reaction, let's say melt and vaporize, but you cannot fully utilize character. Like for me, what's the point you pull a character that you cannot fully utilize the talents, right? So because of that, if you want to play kind of reaction, just pull like the same kind of type of character, which is Yoimiya or Hu Tao, if you prefer something like that. And third, if you prefer a flexible character, then I don't think Lyney is kind of flexible because he's monopyro. It's even make him a little bit restrictive in terms of team building, just because you want to kind of stay in the same element. So because of that, yeah, if you prefer like more flexible, then pull another character. And lastly, this is actually work for most of the bow characters. So if you are mobile player that not comfortable with aiming or whatever kind of bow related, then I would suggest for you to pull for Lyney, because Lyney you still need to aim at least. So yeah, it might be not comfortable of some of you that don't really enjoy playing bow character in mobile, but if you find it's no problem, then sure. Let's move to the second character, Yelan. And the good about Yelan is the first, she's very solid sub DPS. Basically, whatever related to off filler, she's just killing everything. The burst is very strong. The skill also quite convenient to kind of a little bit make crowd control. And second, she is also flexible in terms of team building. Basically, whatever you need with the hydro application, let's say in Vaporize, although not really optimum, but still can work. Also, let's say lately in Dendro, let's say Hyper Bloom, she's just very useful also. So just very flexible in terms of team building. And third, if you need one more Xingqiu, then yeah, Yelan basically is Xingqiu 2.0, and Xingqiu is very good unit. So if you have two of them, then basically it just become like very good, right? And fourth is that it's pretty easy to build her, just because also she has like HP scaling. So we know that attack roll is pretty low compared to HP. HP get higher chance to get roll. So yeah, even though you don't have a very good like crit rate, crit damage, but you keep getting rolled in HP, like my case, it's actually can compromise like your damage though. It can be at least like become like your emergency kind of help for you if you don't have a very good like crit rate, crit damage roll though. So because of that, it's really helping in the Yelan damage though. And that's why it's a little bit better in terms of building compared to Xingqiu. And for next one, it is she actually can become tank though. I'm really say she can become tank. So let's say you have a dodge issue, let's say in your Magu Kenki, you know you cannot really iframe, you can just sacrifice with Yelan, and Yelan still get a lot of like HP, just because most of us will have Yelan around like above 30k, mine even already 40k, 44k. So it's basically she sometimes can become your tank though, or even like in the high ping, she can like become the tank. And lastly, she is pretty good in terms of exploration, just because she run very fast and pretty long. Even with Lynette, Yelan still running longer than Lynette. That's why she's still more comfortable to use though in terms of. And the bad about Yelan, basically it's not really bad, but this is kind of things make the Yelan fallacy to be going on, which is first, she's actually very good unit, very solid, but it's actually fine for you to decide to not get her or decide to skip for her, because Xingqiu exists, and basically Yelan is Xingqiu 2.0. Basically what that's the main thing that Yelan over, Xingqiu can cover those. So if you feel like, oh, if I enough with the Xingqiu, I don't need one more edition. Basically, you're fine to not get her though. Although she's just very very good, but it's very fine also for you to not get her. And second, it's a little just minor. In Vaporized Tin, Yelan might be not the best option just because like before C2, the Hydro application is a little bit lacking, especially in the Hu Tao team. So you would just want to be more into Xinqiu. But other than that, if you already get C2, actually it's already compromised, so it doesn't matter. And the reason for you to pull Yelan is at first, if you need one more Xinqiu, then sure, you pull for Yelan. For me, I need, just because I usually playing in Dendro a lot, so mostly I utilize like Hyper Bloom a lot. Like I even do double Hyper Bloom, like both of the chamber in Spiral Base. So I need Xinqiu, the other half, the other half I need Yolando. So yeah, something like that the case. Second, if you need a very solid top DPS, let's say you want to pair in the national team, let's say something like that, whatever that require a very good off filler in terms of Hydro, then yeah, pull for Yelan because Yelan is just very good. And third, if you need a very flexible character, then Yelan is one of them. You kinda want a character that can pair with a lot of things, and Yelan one of them. And then the next one is if you need a very good unit for exploration, especially the one that involving running, then Yelan is one of the best candidate. And lastly, if you want aim for the meta character, then Yelan for sure is meta character. And the reason for you to skip Yelan is that first, if you feel like, oh, I don't need another Xingqiu, then sure you can basically and skip without any problem at all if you find that you have no kind of need to for another Xingqiu. And second, if you really play in Bloom, Hyper Bloom, or whatever Hydro related, then basically you don't really need too much like Hydro unit, which is you don't need Yelan itself. Just because let's say you play in a Spiral Beast, right? In the first team you put Vaporized team, and second is that decide to go with Aggravate, Mono Pyro, or Mono Geo, or whatever, something like that. Then you basically don't really need Yelan itself though. Just if you just play like one side with Vaporized, you only need Xingqiu, and basically that's it. You don't really need Yelan itself though. So yeah, if you feel like you don't really utilize it in Hydro, although Yelan is very good, it's actually very skippable for it. Third character, the Geo Archon itself, Zhongli. The good by him, he is the best and strongest shielder. Basically, his shield is almost unbreakable, especially if you stack an HP. You just basically feel just so very safe. And second, if you have a dodge issue, let's say you're a mobile player feeling very hard to dodge and survive, then yeah, he can fix your problem. And third, he one of the key for meta in Hu Tao team, especially if you really are Hu Tao fans and want to make your Hu Tao very strong. Then yeah, basically Zhongli is just make your team just a lot way better though. And fourth, Petrify and Resistance reduction, both physical and elemental, is basically a nice addition. Although he's mostly for defensive utility, he has some of the addition in terms of like reduction in resistance and Petrify. And lastly, he is Archon. I know Archon is very popular, mostly people aiming for Archon, so yeah, that's a good thing with Archon itself. And the Bad About Zhongli, most of the Archon doesn't have so much bad things, but yeah, for Zhongli, the bad thing about him is that the pillar from the Geo construct itself sometimes quite annoying. Like sometimes when I summon the tower, I accidentally kind of climb it just because maybe I go too near and trigger the auto climb or whatever, so it's sometimes a little bit annoying. And second, the burst, it's pretty quite long, so sometimes you feel if you want to use the burst, although it's strong, but it's quite wasting your time. So yeah, sometimes you feel it's kind of useful and useless in the same time. And the reason for you to pull Zhongli is that first, if you really need a solid shielder, like the best you want to aim, then pull for Zhongli, because so far I tried for Layla, Kirara. I feel the one that's very comfortable is just Zhongli though. It feels so comfy. And second, if you're bow main, most of the cases, let's say kind of Ganyu, Lyney, most of the time you really want Zhongli, you know, just because it just makes your gameplay a lot more smoother and just feel more comfortable. And second, if you Hu Tao main, for sure, I very recommend for you to pull for Zhongli itself though. And third, if you really like to play in the Mono Geo or you're a Mono Geo enjoyer, so you pair with Aratakito, then yeah, pulling Zhongli is one of the nice addition to make your team a lot better. And the next one, if you're a mobile player, I know mobile player really kind of, they say very hard to dodge, they say. So if you have those kind of problem as a mobile player, then I will recommend to pull Zhongli to fix this kind of dodge issue and problem like surviving. And the last one, if you really are Archon or Lector, then yeah, pull for Zhongli, because yeah, he's Archon anyway. And the reason for you to not pull or skip Zhongli is the first, if you don't really have dodge issue, you say you are very good at dodging, you feel like, I don't need any resistant interruption. I'm fine, like do iframe, and I don't really have a problem. Let's say in the peak, I don't think you really need don't like kind of Zhongli at all, because the main benefit for you to get Zhongli is that if you need like shielder and if you don't want to get interrupted, you don't want to kind of dodge, but if you can feel like you're very confident in dodging, you really don't need Zhongli at all. And second, if you find that you're still lacking of damage, like in overall team, I don't suggest for you to pull for Zhongli, because Zhongli is more into defensive system. Yeah, his burst is pretty strong and Petrify is quite good to make the enemy not moving, but in the end, he's not really solving your damage issue though. He's mostly just like defensive utility. Lastly, Child, the good boy him. First, he's the only character that have dual stance using bow, like range character and melee in the same time is actually very unique for me. I still feel that Child is one of the unique character. And second, he's basically very good in whatever national, international team variation. The one that usually use Shangling, Benet, like a Kazuha or something like that. He's basically very good. He's just like enable like a lot in Vaporize and something like that, so it's very good. And third, he's very good Hydro on fielder though, because the damage is pretty solid from the normal attack, and also the nuke is also very good high damage. It's kind of just very solid in general though. And fourth, if you enjoy like the type of smart gameplay, or we can say like the time management type of gameplay character, then you might like Child, just because Child is not unga bunga character. You really need to know like, oh, how long I already on field though. If I look too long, the cooldown will be too long, and then I cannot do my rotation smoothly. So you need to little bit think, at least at the very least. So if you kind of like this type of gameplay, then sure, you can pretty much consider for him. And lastly, if you like the type of character that have nuke burst type, meaning they deal a lot of high damage that can even make us a damage per screenshot, let's say kind of Hutao burst, Zhongli burst, or let's say Raiden burst. Yeah, it's kind of type of nuke burst type that I believe some of the people really like too. And let's talk about the bad about Child. Is that first, basically Child doesn't have so much team variation, although usually Hydro is very variative. But for Child, he doesn't have much. Basically, the best one is just national, international stuff of like that. You can play a little bit Hyperloom and couple of variation like in Melt, but it's not always the best option. That making like his best option is just not so much variation though. And second, basically he's not really suitable in Dendro. It works. I tried my meme build like couple patch ago. I can't even finish it, but you feel like it's not that suitable though. You use either a Hydro character, let's say Nilo, or maybe Yelan Shincho. It feels a lot better though. And the next one, which is competitive in Hydro. Hydro basically one of the element that very solid in terms of 5-star current, which is Kokomi, Ayato, Yelan. They are very good though. And Child also very good unit also, and Yelan also in the same patch with Child, and soon we'll also get Neviat, and soon we'll get the Hydro Archon sub. So because of that, it makes Child position is questionable. I don't know if I can say Child even important, and also considers he also already old character. And lastly, Child is one of the character that maybe not all of you will enjoy his gameplay, just because I would say he involved in timing management. He cannot be unga bunga like Ito or kind of Hutao. So maybe it's not like cup of tea of some player though. And now we move to the reason for you to pull Child. First, if you need a solid Hydro on fielder, then sure you can pull for Child, because Child is very good in terms of off field, or the application is very good. And second, if you need a solid unit to complete your last year international or national team, then yeah, Child is one of the best candidates besides Raiden though. And the next one, if you want to complete your meta team, then you might need Child. Child is no meta character though, but he make the meta team become complete. I already mentioned before, right? International, national tier, those are meta team. The next one, if you enjoy the gameplay of Child, because I already say Child the only character that have dual sense, so it's pretty unique and involving time management. So if you enjoy, yeah, sure. And lastly, if you enjoy in Vaporize, because most of the case Child is very good in Vaporize. Now we move the reason for you to not pull or skip Child. First, if you need sub DPS, then don't pull for Child. Just because Child is just pure on fielder for Hydro unit. If you aim for sub DPS or off fielder, then just pull for Yelan. Kokomi also can, or even Ayato. They still have the sub DPS capability. Second, if you need a flexible unit, then don't pull for Child, because Child, I already say that he also pure on fielder. and he also doesn't have so much team in like for the optimal team that he has, so he's not really that flexible. So if you want the flexible, you can just aim for Yelan. And the next one, if you type of player that not really good at time management, like not really good at managing your rotation, then you probably will not enjoy Childe. So I don't recommend to pull, just because you need at least to kinda count or like think how long you're ready on field for Childe. If not, you will miss out your rotation. So if you kind of the player that only enjoy Unga Bunga without thinking, then don't pull for Childe. And the last one, if you aim for Hydro unit that makes for Dendro team, then don't pull for Childe, because Childe is not the best option. Yeah, you can, but it's not the best one. Yelan's still a lot better, Kokom is still a lot better, and of course Nilo is the best one if you want to play in Bloom. For Lyney weapon or constellation, it actually depends which one that you aim. If you only aim for C1, I feel the weapon still better in overall because it just buff everything in your Lyney damage. But C1 is actually only increase one more of your green Malkin hats, which is you can get two, which is still increase your damage, but I don't think as good as the getting the signature weapon. Unless you want to get C1, then I feel it's already better than weapon, just because it's also increase your critical damage in your stack of crisps of focus though every 2 seconds. It's already pretty good buff though. So combining with these two is basically, I already feel it's already worth compared to getting weapon. And also getting constellation is more safer than weapon. Sometimes it's too gambling, and the PT, if you go at the worst case, you end up will be higher than even getting constellation from the character itself. For Yelan, should you pull the constellation or the signature weapon? For me, I already say in a couple of my videos is that if you are not C6 or you don't want to make your Yelan as a main DPS, I don't really recommend you to pull for Aqua Simulacra. Instead, just get Elegy of the end. But in the end, also I already say that getting weapon sometimes is too gambling. Until you will get the worst case, it can be very like kinda high compared to just get constellation from the character itself. So because of that, I still prefer for you to just go constellation for Yelan, because even you only stop at C0, you already kind of have lesser problem in terms of energy recharge, and even C2 will increase your damage, and more hydro application is become better in Vaporize team. So I feel just go for constellation. And for Zhongli, should you pull for signature weapon or constellation? For me, I already said that Vortex Vanquisher is not really good for Zhongli. If you want the weapon for Zhongli, just pull Staff of Foma for Zhongli. Things will be better. If not, then you just pull for C2 because it's pretty good. After you use your burst, you will get like shield, right? It's pretty convenient. And I think the last priority is C1 though. So if I've ranked Staff of Foma, C2 or the C1. So for Childe, should you pull for constellation or signature weapon? It actually depends on what you prioritize. If you just prioritize damage, and if you don't have even like rotation problem, then I just recommend for you to just pull Polar Star. But if you find that you still have a rotation issue, or you just want the improving in your quality of life in your rotation, then I suggest for you to just pull for the C1, just because it increases your cooldown of your skill by 20%, and it's allow you to become more like flexible though. And C2 is the last priority because you only allow you to get more elemental energy though. So that's pretty much it for Who Should You Pull edition for 4.0. So if you ask me what is my verdict, my choice will go to Yelan, just because I feel Yelan is cover everything. She is also very strong sub DPS. She's basically Xingqiu 2.0, and Xingqiu is very strong character, and so does also Yelan. She also has like flexible in terms of team building, a lot of strong team involving Yelan, let's say in the Hyper Bloom or Dendro related, even Vaporize if you want, and a lot of other team that good for her. And also she good also in exploration. She's basically kind of improving in most of your every section in your Genshin Impact account though. So that's why I really recommend Yelan to pull. But take notes, I don't really recommend you to just aim for the constellation, at least for this 4.0 part. Why? I already say we will in the very like tough period, because after it we will have Neviat, Risley, and probably we will have a lot of Archon rerun, because usually when they have in the new region they start to do the Archon rally. So soon maybe we'll get Fenty or even Raiden, Nahida, and Furina coming soon. So yeah, I suggest you to just get one copy of the character. Don't pull for constellation, just because yeah, a lot of character will coming soon. So yeah, if you like this kind of video, feel free to hit the subscribe button and like, and I will very appreciate, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.